Welcome to Breaking the Lines Pod. I'm Arland.
My name is Akeem, and this is a Premier League podcast.
Match week 16. We're back, man. How are you?
Yes, sir. Feeling good. How you feeling, my bro?
Good to a certain extent. Not too bad. It was a bit of a shaky match week for me personally, but in the end worked out. But what about you? How are you feeling?
Yeah. Good match week. Was able to catch most of the games than I did the week before, so always happy with that. And then some entertaining games as well. I think it was kind of I don't know. I'll go through them, but it felt like a low scoring match week to me. I don't know. I'd have to review it and see.
Yeah, it wasn't too crazy until the end there, but we'll start off with the first game and the Chelsea Everton game and the 2-0 victory for Chelsea. Cole Palmer getting a goal in this one. What'd you make of it? What'd you think?
Yeah, after predicting 1-1, right, against my own team, but I'm happy for them, man. I'm happy. It looked like a stable win, a good. Obviously, we've been keeping some solid clean sheet. Started the 16 games in, so a solid performance. Kept Everton at bay. Could have scored a couple. I think Robertson just made some good saves. A good 2-0 win. Gusto getting like a man of the match, and like you said, Cole Palmer coming back and getting on the score sheet is always a plus. So it was solid for us. I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched bits and pieces of this, but I thought good kind of to break that mini sort of drought or whatever you want to call it for Chelsea. Good to keep a clean sheet, and Cole Palmer coming back getting goals is always a plus. I think he's very very crucial to that team. So, and I think one thing that maybe not necessarily everyone would say, but it's an impressive victory considering Everton's form as of late. They've
Yeah.
they've been playing pretty well. They've had some good games, gotten points at some decent places. So I think overall a good victory for Chelsea. And yeah, that's I
Um,
predicted them to win. So I'm gonna say I knew that they were gonna win, but very very good.
yeah. A good victory and also some like I was gonna say interesting comments as well after the game from the manager, but a good victory nevertheless.
Yeah, it's almost as if you felt like he was calling out some fans, right?
Yeah, I felt myself there and some others, but at the same time, like I don't mind it, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
and
to give
I think that's it's I think it's healthy on both sides, to be honest, right? Like it's healthy on the sans on the fan side, not just accepting just anything, and then on the manager side too, kind of coming out and saying we need the backing and we need people to be there constantly. I don't think there's anything wrong with it on both sides, to be honest. And I don't think there was any like outcry from the fans like crisis time or anything. I think it was just normal sort of like disappointing with the results, and I think fans have every right to be disappointed with the results in some of those games. And then, the manager kind of has to do or has to say kind of what he said too. So I don't think it was anything, extreme on either side of the fence for that one.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it at all. Like you said, we're gonna have questions, and I think every big team and every team in general, you're never gonna 100% agree with your manager.
Yeah.
So it's okay for us to ask questions. It's also okay for them to, when they do answer the question, to how would you say tap their chest. So I have no
Yeah.
issue with it at all. I just hope it doesn't go any further than that. But yeah, no issues.
Yeah. Well, good victory for Chelsea. Get 3 points at home, clean sheet, and that takes us into the next game, the Liverpool Brighton game. I did watch this game and a 2-0 victory for Liverpool. So I think same sort of comments for me in terms of, a good victory, score 2 goals, clean sheet and all that. And like I said, I didn't watch too much of the Chelsea game, so I didn't really know too much of the back and forth, but I watched more of this game and um it wasn't a 2-0 scoreline game. I mean, Brighton had loads of chances. It was more of like a back and forth game, and I actually thought Liverpool were fortunate to keep a clean sheet. But that being said, I mean, 2 goals, keep a clean sheet, and 3 points. I think you can't really complain from a Liverpool perspective based off of how their season's been going so far, even if the performance is not great.
Yeah, and like you said, those two goals came, like, especially the first one, kind of like from a mistake. I was able to watch that game as well. But for them and where they're at in the moment, I think they'd take it. Anyone would take it, any one of us, to be honest. So yeah, I think it was a good performance from them. Not so much of a great performance, but considering where they're at the moment, I think they'll take a 2-0 and a clean sheet and a brace for Ekitike, a second one, I believe, in a couple of weeks. So it's good for him. It's good for them. And for them, especially trying to pick up points and get up the table. So I think it was a solid performance. Like I said, nothing over the top. And yeah, obviously good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I did just read that Soboslai was injured out until February, so I think that'll be a huge miss for them going forward. Obviously Salah's gone after this game too. He came on.
Yeah,
I think there was an injury to Joe Gomez in like the 20th minute or something. He came on and he didn't play bad, to be honest. I thought, this was probably one of his better games this season.
had an
And
assist.
yeah, yeah, especially in terms of influence, right? But we'll see. We'll see kind of how they move forward and how they deal with some of those injuries and Salah being gone. But overall, good victory. Like I said, 3 points. That's all they really care about, especially in this kind of busy run of fixtures that's coming up. So good 2-0 victory for them there. And I guess we can move on into the Burnley Fulham game. And this was an exciting game. I actually watched this game in and out of it, but I thought that it was a good game. There were some good goals in this game. Um, Fulham coming away with the 3-2 victory in the end. I think they needed that.
Yeah, picking up some points and playing. I mean, I think they lost the other day, last week, but played okay in that game and just lost the game, I believe, by a goal or so. But yeah, picking up a victory there. They were up 3-1 at one point. I wasn't able to see this game, so honestly, you'd have to fill me in. I was able to catch the highlights and seen bits and pieces, but I wasn't able to see much. I saw was it the Bassey? I know it's been on Twitter, the run that he
Yeah,
made, the shot at the end. I saw that clip circulating around, but yeah, it looks like I missed a good game here, but I wasn't able to see it.
yeah, it's funny. I actually some of these like Fulham have accumulated some of these players that just seem like they're very good people. Like Bassey, for example, is one of them. Like, he seems like he's just a good person, and I just couldn't help but laugh when I saw that run and that shot, and then seeing
Yeah,
like the
it
social media stuff
happens.
afterwards. But good 3 points for them overall, especially away from home, and kind of distancing themselves a little bit from that bottom three. Obviously on 20 points now, and West Ham and 18's on 13. 7 points is a good sort of distance to keep. Obviously, still early on, but um, you know, distancing yourself the better. And I think that for Fulham, that's probably I think that their target, which is very achievable, is to stay in the league this season, and they have to invest in that squad and have to bring something in if they want to sort of reach any level that's better than that, right?
Surely they can't be any worse than Wolves, Leeds, and I don't know, Burnley possibly as well. They just beat. So I'm guessing that they should be fine. But as you said, it's pretty tight. I mean, Leeds over the past couple weeks have shown us that they had some spirit and could fight. So could possibly also make it interesting. So I mean, I guess we have to keep an eye out for that. But
Yeah,
yeah, like you said, I think they'd have to going forward into next season and possibly in the winter transfer window as well, invest in that squad there if they
yeah,
have any higher hopes than just staying in the Premier League.
yeah, absolutely. Well, we can move on and move into the Arsenal game, and I couldn't help but feel after this game some I feel the feeling that karma really bit me on this one, because I remember before they played United, we were joking about how United would be the one team to slip up to them, and it was almost Arsenal in this case. And I watched this game in its entirety, and in the first half, it felt like the goal was coming for us. It felt like it was a matter of time, and then I honestly felt like Arsenal players didn't play with any intent in terms of going forward, right? And there was no threat. I mean, for them to concede, which I think there shouldn't have been in the first half at all, but it just felt a little bit too like lackadaisical, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then getting the goal, the first goal, own goal off the corner, and I thought, okay, this will kind of open up the floodgates, and it was just more of the same. And I'll be honest with you, just before Wolves scored, I actually stepped away for a second, and I was like, it was like, so I think it was like the 88th or 89th minute. I stepped away and I was like, game's probably done. 1-0 victory, whatever. And a couple seconds later, I just checked my phone and I see 1-1, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me, man!" And I was like, obviously it was the 90th minute. I think there was like 4 minutes added on or something like that. So I kind of just like threw my phone and I was like, I'm done with it. And to my surprise, I checked my phone a little bit after and I saw that they'd scored in the last minute there and kind of saved the face a little bit. But I wouldn't necessarily say worrying from Arsenal, but I think it's just something that they kind of have to work on in terms of like, having that intent and not getting complacent, in my personal opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for Arsenal, obviously the pressure is on at the moment with City, and obviously playing for City as well. I thought that they'd come out with a little bit better, like you said, more energy and stuff. I thought the first 45, and I mean even watching the full game in general, it just felt like a flat performance. I think a lot of Arsenal fans, including yourself, would agree. But you have those games as you go through the season. I'm not too critical in terms of, like you said, I'm not even worried in terms of Arsenal going forward. I just think what you do see at the moment when you do see them play is that the pressure is on compared to the start of the season where the gap was a little bit more big and they could play a little bit more freely. I think you could see now they feel a little bit of the pressure from City. And as we said, with a couple injuries and stuff to key players, we see a little bit, shakiness in terms of just the team in general. So it will be interesting going forward. Obviously, it's only match week 16. So I think the narrative, like we said, perspective, we always talk about that in the Premier League is a massive thing. So I think for it to change from game week, we'd say 10, 9 or whatever to now where Arsenal is, I think it's just a little bit pressure, but I think we'd know a lot more, let's say game week 24, 25, obviously, if the pressure has gotten to them or anything. So I'm not worried at the moment, like you said. And like I've always told you, my only thing is obviously with the goals, and they conceded that one goal. So long may that continue for them. But for me, in my perspective, I don't think it's a worrying performance. I understand it was on the day, but I don't think it's something that's going to affect them going forward.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't think you have anything to worry about in terms of the 15 goals. And I think that um, this season really puts it into perspective how difficult or how impressive of a record that is. Because I
Yeah,
mean, we were, what was it, like 9, 10, 11 match weeks in. I think at one point Arsenal's average kind of made it so where they were predicted to beat it, right?
yeah.
And that defense is looking very solid. I mean, even kind of removing, the Arsenal fandom for myself, it was looking like, how do you score against this team, right?
You had one shot on you in October.
Yeah, exactly. So
So
I think that puts it in perspective how good you have to be over 38 games to concede 15
yeah,
goals. I mean, it's a mind-blowing, insane
it's a
record. So
crazy, yeah. You think
yeah,
about it with the quality and stuff that's in the league and leagues nowadays, it's crazy to think about.
yeah,
But hey, speaking like you said, from you spoke from the Arsenal point of view, I 100% agreed with you because from the Chelsea point of view, I told you from what, like match week 8 or something that, that's the only thing my goal was I could accept the title win, but 15 goal would be crazy. And for me, it did look possible at one point. But like you said, for now, I think the more we pass the week, especially like, with that Wolves game and stuff, we've said it. I think we both spoke about it with the Sunderland game. I think it kind of just opened up the Leeds' eyes that they could concede. And from there, we kind of seen it. So yeah, like you said, it just makes it much more impressive, but still doesn't take anything away from Arsenal. You know what I mean? It just shows like what we said, how impressive that record was.
yeah, yeah. And I think not just Arsenal. I mean, the whole league, right? I think this season has been a great example of how in the moment everyone is around this league, right? And I know that you and I are big on trying not to be that much in the moment, but this league I think is a great example, especially how Liverpool started with the 5-0 run, and it seemed like they were unbeatable, and everyone's kind of jumping on the bandwagon and saying, it's Liverpool's title to lose 5 games in, right? Which is ridiculous when you think about it. And then they had the blimp in, and Arsenal kind of distanced themselves a little bit at the top. And the narrative switched to what's Arsenal's league this year, right? And, the last few match weeks, now it's to the point where it's like, City's been playing well the last few games and have cut that gap down to 2 points now. And now it's like, City's chasing Arsenal and can possibly overcome them at the top. So I think up until 16 match weeks, it's been a very, very good kind of example of, the Premier League is constantly changing, and it's not something that one match is going to dictate sort of, how the season's going to end, or even 5 matches, right? And not just at the top, right? I mean, even the top four race, like you look at Bournemouth and how Bournemouth started the season, and they were in the top four up until October and looking really comfortable and looking like it would be very, very difficult to beat them. And then they go on this run and now they find themselves in, what is it, like 15th, 16th place. So I think it's, we always mention it, but I think it's important to kind of not let this like narrative that builds, especially on the media around the league, to kind of really be there, especially this early in. But that's just kind of my 2 cents on it.
I think that is, I agree. And I think that is very evident. I think that's evident in everything. And if we want to use even recent, touch on a player specifically, we can talk about Eze, right? I know you've seen it, Gyökeres and stuff. You support Arsenal. You can speak about Chelsea players as well. But I know it's been like a big topic on Twitter recently about Eze, especially his performances since at Tottenham. But I think it's fortunately, I think it does play a role as much as how it shouldn't. I think it does play a role, and I think that's what I was trying to touch on when I said in terms of Arsenal, the way they're playing in the moment. And I agree with you. The season is long. There's 38 games to go. But I think the narrative changing has always been a thing in England specifically, especially with the media. And I think it does play a role in some of these players. We've seen ex-players come out after and talked about it and stuff like that. And I think yeah, I think unfortunately it does. Sadly, it shouldn't, but I think it does play a role. And I think, especially when the fixtures get tight at the moment, as you can see, from quick and fast and stuff like that, the narrative change quickly. And like you could said, it could swing back also in your favor or not in your favor. But I think, unfortunately, it does play a role. We see it always, even in the transfer market. You sign some players based off over 38 games. Sometimes you sign a player based off 2, 3 games. You know what I mean? And the price tag is ridiculous. So unfortunately, I think it's a thing. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be there for a while because, as you said, people want to talk. We have a podcast here, and they have the right to. They want to have narrative every day. They want to be the first one to come up to see something, or you know what I mean. So I think, unfortunately, especially as we get more exposed in media and stuff nowadays, it will be because you'll have people pushing whatever narrative they want, whether it be neutral or fans. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's very, very accurate too. I mean, I think you'd have to be a fool not to believe that the media narrative around the league, and not just this league, but any league, right? But the media narrative around the league doesn't affect the team and the players and the management. I think you'd have to be a fool not to believe that, right? Because as much as I think these teams and these players say that they're focusing on the next game or, whatever it may be, at the end of the day, this is a job for them, and they all have goals, and they're looking, I firmly believe that they're looking at everything that is being said about, the club, the league, and everything. 100%, I think I agree with you. It definitely affects the teams, and um, like we said, it's not just Arsenal, right? It's the other 19 teams in the league too. They all have some sort of narrative about their season. They all have something going on. So 100% I agree with you. But we can move into the Palace City game. And again, I think this is another one that on paper, 3-0 seems like a very comfortable win for City. But I watched this game, and in the first half, at least, it wasn't as comfortable as, 3-0 reflects. I don't know if you got a chance to watch this game, but I think it was like 20 something minutes in, and um, the touches in the opponent's box was like 3 for City, and it was something like 18 or 21 for, it might have been, like 16 or something like that for Palace, but it was astronomically bigger than City's. So I think for City to go on and win this game 3-0, I think is a very sort of impressive feat to sort of how they can, even when teams are coming at them, they can kind of, give it back and come out on top in the end.
Just the quality, right? The difference. I mean, they're starting to show. Even probably putting ourselves and myself specifically on mute because we said a little bit about the defense and talked about that specifically. We never doubted, I mean, their attacking power. Question a little bit the defense and if they were ready to win a title, but I think in the last couple of weeks, just showing us that they're able to find ways to win games. And like you said, was able to watch the game as well. I wanted to see Holland obviously be my captain, and yeah, it took them a while, like you said, to find that first goal there, and it just came from a brilliant quality the header from Holland there and stuff like that. But I mean, summarizing the game, I think that first goal summed up everything, right? Like you said, 18 touches to sit. I don't know if it was 18 specifically, but a lot bigger to City's, I believe, two or three, somewhere around that region. And City goes up the other end in the second half and just put a header in with the quality that they have. So I think it just shows, like you said, the Premier League, the difference as well. Foden with the second goal there from outside the box, just a little bit that City or the top six teams might have that some of these Palaces and the other mid-table teams won't specifically have. So I think it was a good performance from them and from both teams. Like you said, I think up until the first goal, Palace was in the game, and then City just showed their quality. So yeah, obviously for them a good win, clean sheet, and like you said, 2 points closer to Arsenal to kind of what we just spoke about, like push the pressure a little bit on Arsenal's side and that narrative to kind of now showing that City is, on the tails. So yeah, I think interesting for them. Let's see how it goes. Like you said, December is also tricky for not just Arsenal, but for all those teams because we talked about City defensive problems. So I don't think that they're gonna go invincible from now until the end of the season. So it will be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I agree 100%. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I kind of had said this all season where, City does look a little bit better to me than last year. I don't know that it's like you said, like invincible level City, right? Or able to go on a crazy 17, 18 game run City, but they do look better to me. And I think that, kind of where they find themselves now is a reflection of that. I mean, Foden's playing very well now, which I think means that City as a whole is playing better just because he's kind of that linker
Yeah.
in the attack for them. So I think they have that going for them. But we'll see. We'll see what goes on in the next few match weeks. Next up, a shocker of a result, if you want to call it that. I don't even know if it qualifies as that, but 3-0 victory for Forrest over Spurs. What I didn't watch this game. I saw the highlights, but Spurs, I mean, I guess this is why they call them Spurs, right?
Just a shocker, man. It's worrying, like we said, for Thomas Frank over there and that team. Like you said, the result itself, I wasn't able to watch it because I was watching the derby, but I was able to go back and watch the highlights on this one, and it was just some shock defending. Also, that cross shot, kind of good goal, whatever it was, just shocking goalkeeping as well from the goalkeeper. I mean, stuff that we've seen, and also just not creating anything going forward. I think that team is we saw in the not the winter, I was going to say the winter, but we saw in the summer transfer window they tried to sign wingers. I believe Savinho was the big target from City, but I think you see that they're lacking just creativity in that team. I think James Madison is a big miss. They also have Kulusevski on the bench. I mean, not on the bench, on the injury list, I should say. That's a big miss for them. But at the moment, just from watching the highlights, you can see that they lack a bit of creativity going forward, and they're conceding. And we've seen woeful defending back there. It's a bit worrying for them. I'm starting to think, and I think most Tottenham fans are starting to want Thomas Frank out as well. But I'm starting to think if he can even fix this that he's gotten himself into, because to think about, Forrest has also fired their manager that they took from Tottenham this season, got a new manager, and they're able to pick it up quicker than Spurs. So, I think it's a bit worrying over there for them.
Absolutely. And I think you kind of summarized it perfectly, right? But on the other hand, I mean, you kind of touched on this a little bit too, but Forrest has been from a team in the beginning of the season where we were like, we don't necessarily see anything from them. Sean Dyche has come in and really kind of given that team sort of a backbone, right? I
Stable the
mean,
ship a bit.
yeah. So credit to him and then credit to Forrest. But for Spurs, I mean, it's a very
That
It's very
is,
shaky and very rocky. But what a couple goals. I mean, obviously the first goal I think was a Vicario mistake, but the second goal from Hudson-Odoi was a nice little goal there
shot
from him.
cross, he calls it. That is a shot cross.
Yeah. The third goal, however, was
Yeah, right.
very good in my opinion from Sangare, and I couldn't help but remember I think it's the Michael Essien goal versus
Yeah,
Arsenal. You know what I'm talking about? It
yeah, it
gave
was
me that
similar.
sort of yeah,
The kind of vibes, yeah, the way he just one time just across the ball. Those
yeah,
are crazy to me when you think about
yeah,
it. And it's a little bit more. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's you generate the power because the ball is already coming, but
yeah,
it's crazy to get it on target to keep it down, all of those other
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Like
If you
self-defense.
get it on target and it's not within half a step with the goalkeeper, it's going in just because the power that's on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
to get it on target is insane.
Yeah. Well, that takes us into the what do they call it? The wine time derby or the Sunderland Newcastle game. I didn't watch
Derby.
this game. I caught a bit of the highlights and what a finish by Woltemade.
Woltemade, man. I had him in my fantasy. What a guy.
Yeah, what a
Um,
guy. 0 points for you. I was happy about that.
I was sad, and then they took him off. I also had Bruno Guimaraes in my team, and they didn't do so well. I think it was a tight game. It wasn't really a game of much chances, to be fair. There's not much that we could sit here and talk about. The goal came from the own goal that we just said. Yeah, it was a tight, scrappy game, kind of played mostly in the middle of the park. I don't think you can. I'm going to check because I was able to watch the full game. But just going back over it right here, yeah, looking at the XG, Sunderland had 0.30 and Newcastle had 0.24. So from 5 shots to Sunderland, 6 shots to Newcastle, one on target to two on target for Newcastle. So yeah,
Yeah.
not much in the game to really talk about, to be fair. I was able to watch. It was more you can see one of those derby of passion and an own goal. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was one of those more boring, no, I wouldn't say boring games, but a game more played in the midfield, like I said. So yeah, that's all I took from
Yeah.
that.
Eight yellows in a game, so I think that kind of tells a story of its own, right? More
Yeah,
cagey, more
yeah, what's
fighting
that
for it.
KG
So
man? Dan Billard was given those fist bumps, those flexing those muscles. Yeah, it was more of a game like that, and then also a tackle that I think fractured Dan Burns' ribs. I forgot about that in the game as well. So it was like you said, yeah, very cagey kind of real derby affair game. So yeah,
yep, we'll get 3 points for Sunderland. I think at home this season they're going to be a difficult team to kind of break down, and I think they've shown that with some of their results already at the Stadium of Light. So
and great
um,
results for that.
yep. So they're still, they're on 26 points up there, tied with Liverpool and United and Palace too. So, they're sitting pretty. I think we've already established that, we think they'll definitely be in the Premier League next year. So I think that right now they're just kind of, building on that and kind of surprising us. And, we've said multiple times in the past few years, they look like one of the most solid teams that's been promoted. So credit to them. But that moves us into the West Ham Villa game and another game that I think we both didn't think would be as tight. I mean, it took a brilliant strike from Morgan Rogers there at the end to get the 3 points for Villa, but West Ham have started to kind of pick it up, and it seems like there's a little bit more fight to them than what we saw in the beginning of the season.
I mean, we saw that in their last couple weeks, especially defensively, right? Conceding less goals than the start of the season specifically. So yeah, like you said, a great second half performance from Morgan Rogers that got Villa the point. And they've been playing well recently, third in the table at the moment. So yeah, I think yeah, good fight from West Ham. They were leading 2-1 at the break, so I think obviously, especially at home, they're gonna feel a little bit hard done by there. But yeah, I mean, a great performance from Rogers in the second half that just kind of gave Villa that 3 points that they needed to kind of fight in that top four, whatever their hopes is for the season. So yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
interesting game. I was able to catch bits and pieces and then the highlights, but not all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Not much on that game, to be honest. I mean, I didn't really catch most of it either, just bits and pieces. But good 3 points for Villa. You know, they kind of keep the pace up there at the top. West Ham, good showing. Like we said, we'll give them some sort of confidence moving forward, and hopefully they can pick up some points and kind of distance themselves from that bottom three. Next up, we have the Brentford Leeds game and a 1-1 draw in this game, and I think that there was plenty of controversy in this game, but ultimately I feel like
This man, Thiago, brother, I'm telling him this week.
it's funny. I think when they called the penalty that they reversed for
Yeah,
Brentford, I was reading on Twitter afterwards, and I saw a tweet where it's like you can count on Thiago to get his one penalty of the game. You know what I mean? Like I think they've been awarded the
yeah,
most
they've
penalties this
they've gotten
season,
the most
Brentford.
penalties in the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
It's like,
But good goal I think by Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the score sheet the past few weekends. So I think Leeds need that,
yeah,
right?
we
They
are
need that
there.
kind of yeah. And a point kind of just increases that distance. They're sitting on 16 points in 17th place, 3 ahead of West Ham and 6 ahead of Burnley. So it's still all very tight down there. And, I think it's anyone's guess kind of who the other two
Yeah,
teams are to go down. I mean, I think if you pick Wolves and Burnley, you'd have a pretty solid chance of that being correct. But that last team is still up for grabs, in my opinion.
yeah, like you said, Leeds I think is just edging it at the moment, but we spoke about that how quick the narrative and the momentum can switch. So it'll be interesting. West Ham improved in the past couple of weeks. We see Forrest surprising, like you said. It's interesting though. But when you think about it, I'm looking at just the top four and the top. Let's go to Brentford here, right? 15. It's 8 points that separate Brentford and Chelsea at the moment. So I don't think it's like we said, it gives us, it's very early days, kind of really
Yeah,
predict. So,
yeah,
but we definitely
absolutely.
know for sure Wolves is going down if there's anything that we can put our money on.
I think it's a safe bet. I think it's probably the safest bet that you could make this season. Well, that kind of concludes the weekend and it moves us into Monday's game. And what a game this was. I actually watched this game from late in the first half and throughout the second half. And from the neutral perspective, I think this was like just like a staple of what the Premier League is all about. You know what I mean?
You know, you know what's crazy is I watched the entire game, but I don't know if you were able to watch the whole game, but the first, I would say 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I thought United were going to beat Bournemouth like 6-0, honestly. I was just watching and, Chelsea, I know, struggles a lot when we go to Old Trafford, and I don't know how you see it, but the pitch is so wide, it's so big, mate. And I feel like Bournemouth, I'm thinking about their stadium because I believe along with Chelsea, they're one of the stadium that has like the smaller pitch, and you could see that they were just struggling to kind of find ways to kind of like cope. Yeah, I thought United were going to win the game 5-5 nil in the first 20 minutes of the game. The way the game was, they were just kind of all over Bournemouth at the moment to be at that point.
Yeah. I didn't watch the first like 25, 30 minutes, but I heard about it after. And I mean, even kind of watching the rest of the game, you felt like United had a goal in them at any point in the game, just the way that they were attacking. And I was
Yeah,
watching the game kind of thinking to myself, I can see why Bournemouth have had this kind of down spiral since their good start, just because they're so open, like insanely open throughout the whole game. And I don't know if it's because of that game specifically, where it was the game plan to kind of keep an open game to draw United out and hit them on the counter, or what it was. But I mean, way too open. But credit to them. I mean, down 1-0, came back, down 2-1, came back to 3-2. Brilliant free kick by Tavernier. And then United down 3-2, and they get a free kick, which was a controversial free kick, which Bruno Fernandes absolutely just rifled it into the top corner. I mean, it was a brilliant free kick, and I was happy
definitely.
about it with him on my fantasy team. So I was definitely cheering that one on and celebrating it. And then not too long after that, Seshko crosses a ball to what he intended to go to Ahmad on the far side, and it kind of like bounced around a couple times and it just fell to Cunha in front of goal, and he puts it away, and you could just hear Old Trafford erupt on the commentary. I mean, it's one of those stadiums that when
Yeah,
it's loud, it's like you can tell
it's a
from
lot.
watching it that it's extremely loud. I'm thinking to myself, wow, United have just escaped here, and I thought that from what I watched, I thought that they were the more threatening team overall, but it's almost hard for me to say that too because every time Bournemouth went forward, they scored. So it was a weird, interesting game, and I think that I read after the game that United have the most XG this season in the league. I mean, I think Chelsea and City were behind, if I'm not mistaken, which goes to show you that they they create chances, but I think that their problem is that midfield and the transition and the defense, obviously. I mean, kind of dealing with some injury problems at the defense, which they haven't been able to keep sort of a consistent back line, but I don't even think that's the problem. I think the problem is the system. I mean, for Bournemouth's fourth goal, Kobe Mainu replaced Casemiro, and you see him kind of he gets sucked out and dives in, and that ball goes around him, and there's just a big gap in the center of the midfield, right in front of the three defenders. And I mean, at that point, you just have so much space to run into that defenders are like last ditch defending. And they get the goal and tie it up. So I think a good game, I think, kind of, shows us what we've been talking about in terms of United and some of their shortcomings, even through some of the results where they're winning games. So we'll see how it moves on. But brilliant game. I mean, anytime you have 8 goals in a game and they're not on one side, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it was like you said. I could agree. It was a great game. Anytime, like you said, 4-4 in the Premier League is always a great advert. It was an interesting game. I took a lot from that game. Like I said, from just the pitch being so wide, like you said, Burnley, not even Burnley, sorry, Bournemouth's just struggling, and you could see why they struggle. I think one of the big things, I wasn't sure if you're able to watch and catch this as well. I think they fixed it in the second half, but I think in the first half, I'm watching Bournemouth. One of my big takeaways was a lot of their plays are training ground plays, if that made sense. And it's not necessarily like natural. And I don't know, especially like on a pitch on like Old Trafford, I believe that's what they they um they struggle from a bit because I don't know if you're able to see it, but in the first half they had like I don't know if it was Semenyo that played like a back flick to someone. I think it was Calvert or someone running in, and they both kind of just blindly Semenyo back kick, which worked out perfectly for the runner. And then the runner just blindly kicked it in, which is okay, works at times. But I think if you just took a touch and look, like there was a guy running in late, and all he needed was just a touch and finish. And I think I saw that was just one example, but I remember seeing a couple more where all the game needed was just a little bit, maturity, stuff like that. And I think they fixed it in the second half. But adding on to what you said, I think Old Trafford, for teams going to Old Trafford, they struggle. But I think if you really, I wouldn't say really, because we're here making a podcast, and obviously these guys are professional coaches. But I think if you really study it for some of these teams going, there's lots, like you said, for that Kobe Mano goal. If you really get a team caught out at Old Trafford, there's lots and lots of spaces to exploit. So I think
Yeah.
going up to that, building up to that game, you kind of have to practice just to kind of exploit those spaces. And especially with the two-man midfield that they play, there's at times going to be just all it needs is, like you said, just that rash moment of you diving in as a midfielder, causing, lots of panic, just not just in midfield, but kind of trickles down like a domino effect. So, yeah, I think it would be interesting going forward if teams adapt to that, going to Old Trafford.
Yeah, well, and I think that the pitch alone, I think, kind of hurts United defensively too, and I think that their home form kind of shows that because, like you said, that two in the midfield is just so much more space to cover because the pitch is so much more wider. So I think that's part of why they struggle at home, and I haven't heard that in terms of anywhere in the media of any coverage or anything like that. It's all they need a six to sit, and they need an additional midfielder in there, and it's like, well, the system doesn't he plays with is not a six, so you almost can't even blame the players because that's the positioning that they're playing, right? They're playing two side by side eights, and two side by side eights are up and down, and they're moving and they're fluid. So they don't necessarily have a six that just sits there, and that's not the system. And I hear a lot of blame on the players, and for me at least, it's not like I think that there is some blame on the players. Obviously they're the ones that are playing, but if a manager tells you to play in a specific system and a specific style of play, then it's kind of, it's hard to give blame to players, for me at least, because you can't defy the manager, right? Like I was listening to the NBC kind of post game wrap up to that game, and they were talking about how you as the players, or you as a captain, has to kind of take charge, and you've leaked goals recently, and you're up 1 goal towards the end, and get the team to play defensively, and kind of lock in defensively. And for me, at least, I feel like, it's not necessarily a captain's responsibility to get the team to play a certain way, right?
It's a chess game, man. I think that you cannot blame it on the captain. I don't think so. I think, obviously they want to find the coverage and talk about stuff, but I don't think it's something like you said, especially football nowadays. It's a lot of the things, everything's not just a lot of the things, but most things, as you see in the dark arts, or whether it's just football in general, that all comes from the manager shaping the image of his team. So I agree with you. I don't
Yeah,
think that's something where the captain is in charge. I think it's a chess game, like you said. There's moves made, and he moves ahead. Like you said, all these teams are preparing, and coaches are preparing throughout the week and stuff for the game and the game plans. I don't think it's
yeah,
something that's down to the captain.
yeah, absolutely. And I agree 100%. Well, that kind of concludes match week 16, and I think another interesting match week, and an exciting match week. I'd say we both would say that. Looking ahead or before we actually do that, who would you say? I mean, who do you think we should give our team of the week here to?
I'm gonna say for sure Forrest.
Yeah, yeah, I think Forrest is the right call. My kind of second option was City, but I think Forrest giving,
Yeah, I think Forrest is the right call. I mean,
yeah,
obviously Crystal Palace been great, but it's nothing. When City, we're not going to take away anything from them. They've been, obviously, we talked about the difficulties that they've had. So them winning 3-0 is also a big thing, but that's also Man City. So yeah, it's harder to give the top 16 teams of the week than the other teams.
yeah. Well, match week 16 done and dusted, moving to 17, and getting really close to that halfway point. It's looking interesting. It's tight in all areas. I mean, I think you said between Brentford and Chelsea there was 8 points, so that's like 2/3 of the league right there. But interesting. We'll see kind of how match week 17 reshapes that whole table, if at all. You want to jump into the predictions?
Yes, sir. Away at Newcastle, 7:30 in the morning, Chelsea.
Yep, that's gonna be it's gonna be a tough one. I think I could honestly, yeah, I think all teams struggle away at Newcastle, especially kind of like the bigger teams, just because of the nature of Newcastle's play. So I honestly could see this going either way. I'm gonna go down the middle, and I'm gonna go 2-2 draw. But like I said, I could see it going either way.
Gonna back them and give them a 2-1. Hopefully, I should have go for 1-1 again. So hey,
All right, you got 2-1 Chelsea. All right, Bournemouth, Burnley. Bournemouth get their first victory since October. What are you thinking?
I'm going Bournemouth, Burnley. I'm gonna go 3-1 Bournemouth.
I like that. I was thinking that too, to be honest. I'm gonna go 3-0. Brighton, Sunderland. This is an interesting one, tough one.
This one will be interesting.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
give
It's
it
tough.
to give it to Brighton Munich since it's at home, and I'm gonna go 2-1.
Okay. I'm gonna go 3-2 Brighton. I was very tempted to give it 2-1 to Sunderland, but I feel like Brighton at home, they have to get it done. City, West Ham. I think honestly, we've praised West Ham for kind of them showing fight in the last few weeks, but I think City will be way too powerful for them, and I could see this game going 4-0 to City.
A good call. I'm gonna go 3-0. I was in between 3 and 4 as well.
Yeah. Wolves, Brentford. This is going to be an interesting one. I think Wolves could get a point here. I think Wolves could get a point. I'm going to go 1-1.
I'm giving it to Brentford. I'm gonna go 2-1 Brentford. I put Wolves on the board.
This is an interesting one coming up too. Spurs, Liverpool. Spurs are home, which I think their home form has been kind of like United's home form this season. Liverpool have
Yeah,
had a couple of good game weeks.
they were away last week. Don't matter.
I don't know, man. I honestly have no idea what to do on this one. I'm just gonna throw it 3-1 in Liverpool's favor.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna copy you on this one and go 3-1 Liverpool as well. I
Hey,
honestly think Liverpool will just have too much for them, and I mean they're losing to lesser teams than Liverpool at the moment. So I think
yeah,
Liverpool has to kind of think their form, and unless they go, we can set up a good defensive team, but I just think Liverpool will find a way.
yeah. I agree. I just don't see Spurs being able to beat them, given Liverpool's issues that they're dealing with this season. I still think that overall they're way better than Spurs. Next up, Everton. Arsenal travel to the Hill Dickinson for the first time. Tough game, man. Tough game.
This one's
I feel like,
interesting.
yeah, I feel like this one can go one of two ways. I feel like either, we win by 2 goals and just kind of tear Everton apart, or it's a very tight game and I could see it being a draw. I could even see us lose this game, to be honest. I mean, just given sort of, how we've been playing lately. So I have no idea, but I'm gonna call it 2-1 for Arsenal.
I'm gonna go. It's interesting. I'm gonna go 2-0 Arsenal.
Okay. And I don't know how accurate this is, but I read that Grealish, Shrewsbury Hall, and Ndai are out of this game.
Oh yeah, Ruby Hall did come off 15 minutes injured in our game last week.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that might change how David Moyes sets up, and he might go ultra defensive, missing those key attacking threats. So, it might be another difficult game for Arsenal in terms of breaking down the opposition, but we'll see how it goes. Looking forward to it. Leeds Palace, this is another interesting one given Leeds' recent form and scoring some goals lately. What are you thinking?
One's a tough one. Their place, they're gonna be very difficult. Fans gonna be up obviously if they didn't run the form, but I think they're gonna be up for it. I'll go 2-2.
I'm going to copy on that one. That's exactly what I was thinking. Our surprise fixture of the weekend, United not on Monday this week. It's a tough one, man. I'm going to give this game a 2-2 as well.
I'm gonna go 3-1 Aston Villa.
Okay. Which is very well happened. I mean, given AFCON players are gone, but we'll see. Yep, and Mbeumo.
Oh
But
wow.
I will tell you, I'm
Who's
watching
gonna
Mbeumo play yesterday. I don't think they're going to miss that performance for sure.
Hey, listen, there's a couple players in the league that I just no, but Mbeumo is that. I don't know. But he still plays for them. So I'm just trying to think of who else will they play because that bench is just so tight. You miss Ahmad and you miss Mbeumo. Who goes to right wing back and who goes into that slot? So Cunha, how would he change the system there? Cunha
Uh,
goes and
I
Cunha
think
Mount.
Cunha and Mount will be behind Seshko because Seshko's back, and then Dallo on the
Oh,
right wing
yeah,
back and Dorgu on the left wing back. There's literally no other option.
yeah, I think that would be interesting. Yeah,
We'll
just
see.
like
We'll see. Last up, Monday game, Fulham Forest. Another difficult game to call.
I don't know. Yeah, this one right here will be this is gonna be tough. They both
Fulham
are gonna
lose
be
Fulham lose Iwobi, which is very key to their midfield. And
oh, there's isn't Forrest losing those a couple like Onana or I
yeah,
mean, yeah, what's his name?
Sangare and
Yeah, they're losing a couple as well. So
yeah.
they have quite a few over there, so both of them will be interesting. I'm gonna go 1-1 for this one here.
All right, I'm gonna go 1-0. 1-0 Fulham. All right, that rounds up this week's pod, the predictions. How are we feeling going into game week 17? What are you thinking?
Will be interesting. Will be interesting as you've seen it slips. Anyone win that can change the table drastically at the moment. I think it's going to be interesting going in for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be interesting for me just for the rest of the league, but specifically for the Christmas period here. Once we get into January, be able to kind of see the table stabilize a bit more. But for now, like we said, it could be third this week, seventh next week. So let's see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that kind of rounds off this week's pod. That's it for me.
Yes, sir. That's it for me as well. Thanks for joining us.